So before we dive into you creating your profile and your overview, I want to show you through just a few profiles that I think are some great examples and some not so great examples, because I do think it's helpful to understand why I'm suggesting certain things. If you look at it through the lens of other profiles on the site, you can see exactly what it would feel like for you as a potential client, as a potential person that would be hiring on the site to read these things. So this is the first example that I'm bringing in. As you can see, 47% job success is not great. If we look down here at the work history, at the completed jobs, what's interesting is that there's all of these great 5-star reviews, and there's just this one 3.3-star review for $750. And so it's definitely something to keep in mind, that it's really important just to go the extra mile for clients. And if it's something like that, especially a project that is really not that much money in the grand scheme of things, since that can really hurt him from getting future jobs, I would say that it's something that you might just want to either give that person a refund or help them until they're happy, but that's going to help protect your percentage for job success. I will say that Upwork, as you do get like different badges and you start to kind of prove yourself to them on that site, there's different bonuses that they'll give you, like removing feedback from time to time. So it's definitely good to go for some of those different things that they offer. So experienced brand marketer, strategist, and e-commerce expert. I think his title is really good. $79 an hour does seem relatively low for the rate. It's possible that he might be doing it because he wants to get his job success score up. The thing that automatically comes to mind when I first start to read this profile is that all of this stuff reads very much like a resume. It doesn't look like he took the time to write this specifically for Upwork. And because people are not going to like read all of this text, it doesn't seem like he's really using this real estate as well as he could. What I really like instead is if you start by talking about them versus you. So that's a really good thing to think about as you go about creating your process. But instead of just listing it out like this and trying to expect that people are going to read this, I would just recommend that it's a little bit more on the brief side, and that it doesn't include like a resume in its entirety, because it's just too much to read, and most of the time you just kind of scroll through it, right? I will pause here and I want to pull up a few different profiles. Great that he has a video though. I definitely recommend, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, having a video to introduce yourself. Okay, so here's a really good example. 93% job success. She's got the top rated badge. She has a video. You can see through here that there's actually different types of sub-profiles that she has set up. Okay. So professional copywriter, editor, and author. I think that looks really good. I'm going to expand this. So if we look up here, how she starts it. Okay. $250 an hour. I mean, because she has great earnings, she has a great job success score, I think that absolutely makes sense. So I think this is really interesting, is she actually starts it off with a quote, just to sort of pull people in, and it actually has a lot to do with exactly what she does, which I think is a compelling and interesting thing. What she goes and does from there, I wouldn't recommend that you use this many necessarily, but she goes into these testimonial like clips, just like these brief sentences. But what is really effective about it is they actually have quantifiable results. So they don't just talk about what she does, it talks about how well she does it. And it seems as though everything that she's using here, that Chris is using here on her profile, is really pointing back towards ROI. I paid this much, I've made this much. So that really helps people be like, wow, I want to keep reading. I want to make more money. She points people to read the rest of her client testimonials because she knows, again, it's going to really help her out. And I do think that having some calls to actions weaved in there is really effective. 5 things to understand before you hire a copywriter. Okay, so if you're called to this format, I definitely recommend it. And what I like about it is that it's educating people about what you do. It's talking about what you do and what your expertise is, but it's being delivered through the lens of giving them value. They are getting something by understanding a little bit more about the process, knowing more about what they should think about when they're writing their own copy, when they are hiring somebody to write copy. And if they are learning about something and receiving value from her, she's establishing herself as an expert by including this in her profile. So it's essentially a way that she is talking about her experience and what she knows, but not bringing it through in like a resume format like the first example did. And as we keep going, she pulls it in and she makes it about the person. Are you coming across to them like an arrogant know-it-all, a hat-in-hand petitioner, or an authentic relational, I'm not sure if that's a real word, but relational human being who wants to help solve their most pressing problems or fulfill their fondest desires? And so she's making it about you, and she's talking about it in a very personable way. And the way that she even has it kind of set up, if you'll notice like what she has first, second, third, it's set up in such a way that it gets you to keep reading. Okay. And I love how she ends it here. Good copywriters don't take your money, they make you money. I'm one of the good ones here on Upwork. So this is just an example of some things to think about. And what I want you to see is how everything is about giving value to the client, and it's talking about it through the client's lens. It does not look like a typical resume. This is not a resume, so it should not look like a resume. So this is a not so good example. So this rate of $35 an hour, it's interesting, $5 in earnings, okay. But everything here, it's like virtual personal assistant, confusing. What does that mean? I don't know. This chairman of the board of directors, president, CEO, these seem to all be like very high level titles. But then he's pitching himself here as a $35 per hour virtual personal assistant. I don't know what he can do to help me. I don't understand why this experience should be important to me. And there's a lot of things that just don't make sense about it. So these are the kinds of things that you really want to think about when you are filling out your profile. Will this make sense to your ideal client? And lastly, I'm going to use my profile as an example just to show you through really how this method that I'm going to be teaching you about writing the profile overview section, which this right here, this entire section here is the profile overview. I'm going to show you what it looks like in action. So I will tell you that I tend to be very casual, as you can see. I have turquoise hair, so I am the type of person that writes how they talk. Depending on your personality, your target market, you're going to want to make this come across as you. And everything that I share with you about this formatting will allow you to do that. So I have a great job success rate, great earnings, so that helps me right off the bat. I have the badge that helps me. Okay, so now I want to go through and show you, okay, my title, Intuitive Business Coach for coaches and spiritual freelancers. So it's sharing what I do and who I help, and it's fairly clear, you know, I coach business owners. So this is something that you don't need anymore, but I do think it's a great to have a call to action that points to watching your video. The video used to be hidden like all the way down here at the bottom, and it was just a link. So everything that I do here, you'll see I talk about who I help, and I go into the story of what their experience might be, because what I want people to do as they read this is to see themselves in it, to be like, wow, that is me. I do feel like that. And that's the thing that gets them to keep reading. So if you can, we'll talk more about it, kind of just point to what's their challenge, what's their pain. If you were to put yourself in their shoes, what are the things that they're thinking about and talking about, and really kind of take the words out of their mouth, so to speak. That really does pull people in, and it helps your ideal client to want to, to work with you, to contact you and find out more. So this is a different version that I use compared to the version that we saw with Chris, where she lists out some things that really give people value and educate them about their project. Mine is, this is what we're going to get done together. So I do think this is a great thing. I actually learned this from my marketing coach. Instead of being like, oh, this is all the things that you're going to get, this is the number of sessions, this is the number of hours. Like ultimately people are more thinking about what am I going to get done? What are we going to accomplish together? Are you the person that's going to help me get where I want to go? And what this does is really demonstrate that you have a plan. It might be different for different clients, but this helps people know that you are the person that they can hire that can help them achieve exactly what they want. And that's what we pay for. That's something to think about. Okay, so if you look here, I do have just brief snippets here that are sentence or two examples of testimonials. And so I do have a lot of testimonials here on the site, but this really draws people's attention to quickly see, because I don't know if they're going to scroll through and read it. So if there's certain things that I really want them to see in terms of quantifiable results, I pull those here and I put them in the overview. And then as I go down, there's different calls to action. There is a little bit there in terms of training, but I leave that down towards the bottom for the people that care about it. Most people don't care about that as much. And you'll see that I talk about this in my recommendations as well, to actually use keywords and actually put it directly in the profile. Since the skill sets that you can input through the system are somewhat limited, it's not going to be extensive. If you do put in keywords at the bottom, when people do a search for you, the primary things that it's going to pull word matches for are title matches, as well as things that are included in your profile. And so I might not use all of these words organically in my profile description, but putting them down towards the bottom and putting alternate phrases or search terms that people might use has really helped a wide variety of people find me that wouldn't otherwise. So I highly recommend that. And yeah, this is just a quick little thing to kind of give you a sense of why I'm going to make these recommendations.